Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to a few of you. Welcome to today's community briefing. Let me click OK. There we are. So my name is Gregory Sneed, and today is the 1st of February, the beginning of Black History Month. And I think this year, but correct me if I'm wrong, we get an extra day. Is this the leap year day? We got 29 days for this February. Man, I pity whoever's born on February 29, right? They always got a birthday every 4 years, right? Think about that. But we've got two great guests for you today. We have Mr. Charlton Davis and Miss Crystel Coleman, and they will be joining us. Crystal, like the drink, right? Crystal, Crystal, and they will be joining us momentarily. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. And if you needed to get something done in January, it's too late. Crystel, over to you.
All righty. You are absolutely right. But you should have gotten your 1099s out before yesterday. And you should be about ready to pay for your City of Los Angeles tax before the end of this month, because if not, you're going to be paying $300. If you didn't make that kind of money, then you're going to be paying a penalty. So those are the things you should be doing. Welcome. I am Crystal Mitchell, and we are in Black History Month. The shortest month of the year, but the best month of the year. And but we do know that Black history operates 365 days plus a year, but we're celebrating it. So I'm happy. I think that was the first thing that hit my calendars this morning. My cell phone folks was just all over the place, just waiting for happy Black History Month. So welcome. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, as well as the inspiration behind the community briefing. This platform is here for us. It's a community, and we're working together to bring us together to make us more powerful. The platform was is inspired because I wanted to make sure that we know what's going on in our communities and how it affects us. And as we all know, if you're not sitting at the table, then you are part of the menu. And as Joe Razan says, not even just part of the main menu, you are the dessert, which sometimes they just pass up. So we want to make sure we're the center course, the main course, and we have a phenomenal team. But before we get to that, this platform is sponsored and co-sponsored and powered by Recycling Black Dollars and the BDA, Miss Sarah Harris right there. Hey, Sarah. And it's monetarily sponsored currently by Southern California Edison, Wells Fargo Bank, PCR. Urban Excellence is our latest and newest sponsor, as well as Los Angeles LDC. So we welcome anyone that wants to sponsor us. So you can go to our website and you can get that information from Mr. Stephen Turner. Our team is amazing. Mr. Gregory Sneed, Ms. Robin Billups, and Mr. Stephen Turner. Without him, you guys, we would be scrambling for guests. So we do thank Stephen for all that he does. He's the producer. And so thank you, Stephen. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Robin Billups so she can introduce herself.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for Crystal. Happy Black History Month and 365. Let's just put it that way. I'm Robin Billups with the Billups Group. I assess, coach, and work with entrepreneurs and companies to help them reach their compliance requirements around supply chain inclusion. As usual, I'm on my voting platform. We got a couple of weeks to go. We've had quite a few speakers on here talking about the importance of voting. And one of the things we want to remind folks, not only do you want to register, but you actually want to vote. You actually want to be an informed voter. And again, we ask you to let's knock it out the park. Let's push Biden over the brink, because at the end of the day, that's the candidate that has been working to protect our community. And I'm going to turn it back over to Greg. Hey, Greg.
Howdy. So I'm looking to see, are our guests here?
Not yet. I don't believe.
This is Wendy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
They are jumping on right now. There was, I guess, a glitch with this rain and internet, so they should be jumping on any second.
Okay. Fantastic. Because I was going to say, that's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in.
No, they're jumping on. Yeah, because matter of fact, Steven just sent us a new connection. So I know they're jumping on right now.
Okay, awesome. Sarah, you want to talk about what you got going on next month? You're on mute.
Dang it! I hate that.
This month, right?
No, actually,
Well, this month we have, Crystal spoke about that. We have our Chambers United Black History Month breakfast mixer on February 23rd at Doolin's. Yay!
yay.
Coming together. Crenshaw, Black, RBD, and BBA coming together on the 23rd, February 23rd. So that's going to be amazing. And our speaker will be Karim Webb. So our updated flyer will be out shortly, and that would be great. And then Salute to Black Women on March 23rd, a month later at Sheraton Gateway Hotel. That is going to be amazing and experience on there. We have some great honorees and great speakers, vendor opportunities, this whole shebang. So check it out at bbala.org. So nice. Thank you for letting me share.
Oh, no problem. While we're waiting for our guest, and you guys, there's some amazing Black history moments going on. I am currently reading, while we're waiting for our guest, I am reading a book called The Black History, the unwashed version of American history. It is absolutely an amazing book. This brother did some research that I didn't even know how many Black towns were in Oklahoma. Look, Oklahoma must be the place. All free Black folks come here because every little area space, we only know about what Black Wall Street, Greenwood, but there's a Bowley, there's just tons of them. And this young man, he went into deep. So I would suggest you guys get it. He also
I'm reading it too.
You're reading it?
I'm
Are you
reading it
listening
too.
to the podcast, Drapetomania?
Yeah.
So the podcast is really entertaining. It is actually produced by John Legend and Pharrell Williams, and it's a dramatization. So they have some every celebrity comedian chiming in with information on Black history. So if you want to celebrate Black history and really know what's happening, that's an excellent book to read. So that's
What's the name of that again?
It is called Black History.
Actually, it's Black AF History.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Version
Okay.
of American history.
Right.
Put that in the chat box, Crystal.
I'm
By
putting it in
Michael.
now.
You're putting
Thanks,
it in there
Joseph.
by
Yeah.
Michael Harriet. Hilarious.
Harriet.
Harriet. I will put the podcast link in. It's on Spotify. Oh, I'm just laughing, and it's funny, but it's deep. The history is deep. So supporting each other. Let's see.
Yeah, Oklahoma is interesting because my grandparents were in Oklahoma. My dad was born and raised in Oklahoma City. My mother was born in Enid, Oklahoma, and I've heard of Bowley, Oklahoma. I've met people from there. A lot of people from Louisiana and the South migrated into Oklahoma, which became a state in 1907. So my grandparents moved to Oklahoma from Louisiana in 1909. And my grandfather was a principal of at that time, the only Negro elementary school in Oklahoma City. So anybody that went to public school was educated by my grandfather.
Yeah, Oklahoma was the place to be.
Yeah.
And that's that time period that, those early 1900s, again, that's why it's always my push. When you look at our history and our heritage, the early 1900s, regardless of how they were getting beat up, pushed around, mistreated, folks still made progress. And it's a beautiful thing. And that's what we have to draw on.
Yeah, we do. So it's and I just love it, and I hope you guys have gone out to see Origin, phenomenal. Ava DuVernay just kicked that out the box. Is our guest here yet? No.
Well, there's somebody that says Laurel Davis, but it looks like the picture of Charlton Davis.
It's
So, so we can.
but who is technically challenged, so he has his wife do all the Zoom stuff. So
Okay, so we
And that means
can.
she gets a check for that audio video services as
she
well.
will.
So we can rename you CHARLTON.
All righty. So now we can kick it off. That was the behind the scenes
Change.
intro while we're waiting for you, Mr. Davis.
Okay.
That's fine. Charlton is fine if you don't mind.
Okay. That's
My
your
dad,
right.
my dad was Mr. Davis.
Okay.
Mr. Davis. All right. Okay. All right. So let's get started. I just recently handed your bio, so I haven't memorized it, but I'll be reading what I have here. Charlton Davis, for over 4 decades, has had the privilege and responsibility to help mature adults and their families address their most precious issues relating to the latter years of life. One of the most important issues, of course, is preparing for the possibility of long-term senior health care and the funding for it. Charlton's first major responsibility began in 1989 when he became the advisor for the Elder/MED Med America Association. Oh, I've heard of them. For several years, he directed Elder Med 300,000 membership with planning for their future health care. Today, more than 30 years later, he is still servicing many of those clients effectively. Throughout this period, they have praised him for his high level of expertise and his genuine sense of client service, expressing to him such comments as, "I can trust you virtually anything you recommend, and I look to you as my financial guiding light." More than 30 years ago, Charlton developed the now enormously valuable strategy he calls the Home Equity Life Care Plan, better known as H.E.L.P. And the H.E.L.P. strategy has been vetted by several government entities, including the National Council on Aging, the Brookings Institute, and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, just to name a few. I have no idea where he grew up, where he's from, where he lives, so he'll share that with us momentarily. Is our second guest here?
I don't think so. She's been having some technical difficulties as well.
All right. Well,
we tried to come on at about 10:45, but it wasn't letting us get on. So
all right. So why don't you share with us where you from? Where did you go to school? And then we'll get you kick started.
I'm from South Central Los Angeles.
We've heard of that place.
Yeah. Grew up there, went to Mount Vernon Junior High School, LA High School. If there's anybody that's a rival, forgive me. The last radio program I was on, the host was from Fremont, one of our rivals.
I went to LA High, so
did you really?
In solidarity, and so
we are the Romans. Did you?
I'm a Roman, and so did Jackie B, who's the other co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. We're both Romans.
Wonderful. Yeah, we celebrated our 50th high school reunion and our school's 100th.
Shelf, Maryland, and
see, well, I'm among friends. Okay.
Yes.
So I've been here all my life, native, love it. Not going anywhere, like to visit, but I'm always coming back home. So that's all about me. Yeah. It's kind of a simple person that started off helping people with these kinds of issues in 1979. And so,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've been doing this a long, long time and seen a lot happen with people over the years. And I appreciate the opportunity of sharing with you guys the H.E.L.P. strategy. Let me ask, if I can, any caregivers?
Yes.
Amongst us?
Linda Morgan is on here, and she's looking forward to getting some men's encouragement group resources. Sure. But yes, I think a lot of us, while we may not have it full time, I think a lot of people are in that space of caring for elders. And we're looking forward to hearing from you, Charlton, excuse me.
So you've experienced the long-term care dilemma. If you're a caregiver and, if you've known of one, there's 3 basic things that happen when someone needs care. The dilemma is there's an emotional situation that happens when someone needs care, both for the caregiver and for the person needing care. Myself and my associate, Crystel Coleman, we've both been caregivers. I was a caregiver for my mother. And when you're dealing with opposite gender, children, it can be very, very difficult. Thank God my wife was very, very helpful with that. And so there's an emotional burden that goes along with, and especially a parent, because you know what, sometimes the roles reverse. You become the parent. And then there's a physical burden that's associated when people need long-term care, especially when a wife is trying to take care of her husband, trying to lift him out of bed, help him go to the bathroom. It's a lot. And just around the clock being there, not really being able to do much, it can really cause some serious physical burdens on someone. And then probably the thing that we can help with, we can't do anything about the physical and emotional burdens, but we can help with the financial dilemma that many people face. And so, has anybody had a loved one in a nursing home, or has anybody on the call had someone coming out as a caregiver? Is it kind of a little bit expensive? I'm trying to be funny.
One of our
He got
friends,
jokes.
yeah, he got jokes. I think he pays $8,000 a month for his
Yes,
mother
that's
to
correct.
be in care. They're taking great care of her. My girlfriend, she calculated a couple of years ago that she paid about $25,000 a month for the care of her mother during the time, and that was over quite a long period of time.
I see a hand, so
Yeah, my mom is in an assisted living place, and it's about $7,600 to $7,800 a month. But fortunately, I put a long-term care policy in place for her in 1996.
Beautiful.
So, and to your point, Charlton, a son having to deal with his mother. My mom doesn't. I mean, I didn't even know my mom had menstrual cycles. So you don't want me looking at her at all that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Mom is sacred, and
Yeah.
like you, what's your name? I'm sorry, I can't see that.
Eric Bell.
So Eric, yeah, my mom is also in an assisted living facility that's costing $15,000 a month. So, and the care at home isn't any less expensive. And as well as I do, most people, about 70% of the people, want to be cared for at home. They don't want to have to go to a nursing home. I visit my mom on a regular basis, and I enjoy going, but I'm going to tell you, it's tough. Eric, I don't know if you experience this yourself, but it's just tough sometimes to see them.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, they're not who they used to be. And my mom has dementia, so she's forgetting a lot of stuff right now. And she's up in Northern California, so I make it up there at least once a month, maybe twice, depending on what's going on.
Right.
And I'm her POA, so I got a lot of her business to take care of. So it's a lot. It's more than I thought it was going to be.
And you just hit the nail on the head. It's more than everybody thinks it's going to be. That caregiving is one of the hardest things. And not just if you're doing the actual hands-on care, if you're managing the care, that's, I spend at least 20 hours a week, doing that kind of thing. So that's the problem with long-term care. And of course, the money issue is the big, big problem. The next question, though, too many people, even today, think erroneously that Medicare is going to cover it, right? And we know that it covers nothing, and especially for care at home. And then many, and I have some good news for people who don't mind going to nursing homes. Just this year in 2024, the qualifications to qualify for Medicaid or Medi-Cal in California have been drastically reduced. So it's much easier now than it has been in the past. The problem, though, is relying upon Medicaid or Medi-Cal is that you only can get care in a nursing home where most people don't want to be cared for. So I want to talk briefly about why it's important to plan in advance. Too many people, here's what happens. Too many people wait until there's a illness or a condition, or they see someone deteriorating. Then they want to start trying to plan for it. What happens then? Well, the choices are very limited. There's really nowhere where you can, really get the funding for it. That's the biggest problem, by the way, with long-term care is funding. And that's where H.E.L.P comes in. I'll give you a lot more detail about that in a moment. But it's been proven that the most comfortable way, and you've already said it, Eric, and I want to commend you for doing this for your mom in 1996. I'm sure you could attest to the group. Can you imagine if you had to pay that out of your pocket or out of her resources?
Well, she had the foresight. I didn't. And she told me to write it on her because she didn't want to be a burden to me and my brothers, because all she has is boys. So that's how it got written.
Okay, you use the B word, so that means I can use it. That's where people are. And that's where many of us are. I'm 68, so we're at that age when we start going into that. We don't want to be burdens on our children. And so that's why it's important to plan for it in advance, because if you don't, I guarantee you, you don't have to say that to them when you're caring for them yourself. That's one of the things that they feel. That's one of the emotional issues. Am I being a burden? Can I be honest? It is a burden. It is a burden. It can be a beautiful burden, but it's, as one of our young ladies said, but it's a burden in and of itself. So it's been proven that the best way and the most comfortable way to pay for long-term care is through long-term care insurance. But there's a problem with that. There is a long-term care insurance dilemma. And if you just Google it, when you get off the call, just Google it and say, what is wrong with long-term care insurance? Here's what you're going to find. First of all, it's too expensive. Let me be the first to say it is too expensive. Most people cannot cover these premiums from their income or their retirement assets. That's why we developed H.E.L.P. I'll go into more detail in a moment. Premiums can increase exponentially. Eric, do you know whether or not over the years your mom's premiums grew or got more expensive as time went on?
No, they were level.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the plans that I started writing in '85 were level. They're what they call guaranteed renewable. But many, especially since probably around 2000, 2005, can I mention names of companies like PERS, like the Public Employees? They've had a plan out for years, a great competitive plan when it came out. But I've had friends and who have parents who've had these plans and they've gone up 20%. And then maybe 5 years later, they went up another 50%. And so they just couldn't afford them to continue to pay that premium. And then finally, one of the things that people say is, well, look, I don't want to have this kind of plan. This is why people don't buy long-term care insurance, because they say, well, I don't want to pay for this premium for all these years and never need it. So that's the dilemma that we have with long-term care. Now, the home equity life care plan was really designed, as I get toward the end, I'll tell you how we solved that problem. But let me tell you how it was developed. I was giving a lecture at a hospital in a very exclusive part of Southern California called Palos Verdes, California, Torrance. I met with a gentleman who lived in a bungalow in one of the more exclusive parts of Palos Verdes. I had talked to him about a long-term care insurance plan. We got down toward the end where the premium was there, and the premium was $3,000 a year, which was really good at that time, but he couldn't afford it, and I believed him. But he was sitting on a piece of property that was free and clear, that was worth $750,000. And I just said, how does that work? How is it that someone that has so much equity in their home not be able to afford a $3,000 a year premium? And that's how the H.E.L.P. concept was developed. I, at that time, was lecturing all over Southern California, speaking in a lot of different California Commission on Aging and all these places. And then during that time, home equity conversions, otherwise, how many of you have ever heard of a home equity conversion? Do any of you know what a home equity conversion is? Otherwise known as reverse mortgages. And by the way, I usually don't use the term reverse mortgage, because what do people think about when they think about mortgage? They think about foreclosure. Okay. So I don't use reverse mortgages, but reverse mortgages and home equity conversions had been around. And I said, wait a minute, this is the way for so many people. Now, this is for senior homeowners. This is a way where they can now afford to pay the premiums by simply repositioning, and I'll go into a little bit more detail in a moment, simply repositioning some of the future equity that they have in their homes. And it was really developed to just make sure that, and by the way, I need to say this, you mentioned the Brookings Institute, the CMS, all of these people, they've written papers on it. One is titled, I almost wish I could show it to you, Linking Reverse Mortgages with Long-Term Care. Everybody knows that for the people who can't afford the premiums, that are homeowners, that have been in their homes for a while. I grew up on South Central. My parents paid $22,000 in 1963 for their home. In 2003, it sold for $969,000. So all this equity was growing, but they weren't being able to take advantage of it. So let me tell you what H.E.L.P. is. It's not an insurance policy. I need to make that clear. It is a funding strategy that shows people how to fund long-term care insurance more than just a long-term care. Although, if you're familiar with the magazine or the article "Taking Care of Tomorrow" that's put out by California Commission on Aging, it states that you can use long-term care, you can use the equity in your home to pay for long-term care, but that's kind of the expense, about $100,000 a year, as opposed to paying pennies on the dollar for that. Now, let me just tell you who can participate in this. The people that we recommend that participate in the H.E.L.P strategy are people who've lived in their homes for a while. They've been fortunate enough to live in their homes, stay there. They've been able to gain a substantial amount of equity in their homes. Many of the people that we see have their homes free and clear. There's a very popular part of Southern California, Inglewood. Everybody's familiar with the Wood, the movie The Wood, Inglewood. Back in there you go, we got an Inglewood person up there. People bought their homes in Inglewood, let's say in the year 2000. They paid about, 250, 300,000. Those homes are worth $1 million. They have 600, 700, off sometimes even more equity in their homes. And so we show them how to simply, let's do this. Because their incomes, they can't afford their premiums from their incomes. They can't afford, and it's often wise not to pay it from your retirement accounts. Here's why. The vast majority of people that buy long-term care insurance pay it from their retirement accounts. But what happens when we pull money out of our IRA or 401k? What do we have to do? We have to pay taxes on it. So instead of paying dollar for dollar, they're paying $1.40, $1.40 for it, paying 40% of taxes with state and federal. So that's what we designed this for. We believe that this is going to solve one of the major problems that we have, and especially in our communities, because we're oftentimes overlooked. One of the major insurance carriers that we use to put the strategy together, they have what they call suitability. Before you can get any insurance policy today, there's suitability that has to be required. And so the suitability says, well, if your premium for your long-term care plan with us is more than 10% of your income, then we recommend that you do something else. Well, if you look at the premium compared to what the average income is, it's usually 15, 20, 30%. So instead of people spending 15, 20, 30% of their income to pay for premiums, they can reposition maybe 2 to 3% of the equity in their homes. And that's what the Home Equity Life Care Plan is all about. That's what the strategy is about. And we believe it is going to make long-term care insurance a lot more affordable for many senior homeowners. Not by reducing the premiums. We can't do that. Insurance companies are not going to do that, by making it a viable way for them to pay for those plans. And we recommend it highly because of all the things that people deal with. We baby boomers, how many of us is there? Tremendous. And if we don't solve this problem soon, we're going to have a bigger problem. So that's what the Home Equity Life Care Plan is all about. I wanted to take some time, if I can, to answer any questions or comments that you might have at this point.
Carlton, an alternative to a reverse mortgage to me, and my tax attorneys can do it, they can get rid of the capital gain tax. If someone were to sell that home for mom's coverage and the capital gain was enough, they can eliminate the capital gain tax so they have enough money to spend towards their care versus doing a reverse mortgage if they want to sell the house.
Yeah, and that's a good thing if they're going to sell the house. But many people want to live in that home. Your mom's situation, right. She can't. But people want to stay in the home that they've lived in 10, 15, 20 years. And when that happens, we can't sell the home. And that's when the home equity conversion will get. But that's a very good alternative. Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions that you have or comments?
Charlton, explain to us again, you've given us a good overview of what the product is, but explain to us, give us some basic details on the process.
Beautiful. I'm glad you asked that question. So what we do when someone raises their hand and say, I need help, we go out and assess their situation. We look at their health, see if they can qualify for something. We look at their other assets and income. And then if it's determined by us and their family that this is a viable alternative, then we have them submit a long-term care application with one of our carriers. That's usually a 6 to 8 week process. And in the meantime, if we decide that they're going to use a home equity conversion to fund those premiums, we get them in touch with the right mortgage broker, and then we put this thing together. It's a process. So I'm glad you brought that up. And we let people know in advance. This is not something you can do overnight. It takes between 6 to 8, sometimes 12 weeks. The insurance company will then assess to see if they qualify. And if they do, then the insurance contract will be accepted and issued. And then at the same time, if they qualify for the home equity conversion, then that's also issued. And then we just have them, they usually get an equity line of credit. And they just, from that equity line of credit, they take out their premiums each year and pay for the long-term care insurance.
Greg, I think Greg had a question.
Greg had a question?
Actually, not so much a question, but are the guest has arrived.
Oh, yes.
Finally.
Yes. I see her.
So I wanted to take a moment out to properly introduce her and have her to chime in on the conversation, if that's okay with you, Mr. Davis.
Please, by all means.
Crystel T. Coleman is Chief Operating Officer of H.E.L.P. In addition to the responsibilities of this role, she has over 43 years of education and entrepreneurial experiences. She earned her master's in special education from Pepperdine University. She has received her undergraduate and graduate degrees from the University of California, Irvine, under the School of Social Ecology. Additionally, she holds certificates in both general education and special education. She taught for 25 years in both areas, and she also taught in Culver City and Los Angeles Unified School District, LAUSD, where she served with integrity, commitment, and compassion. Crystel owns her real estate corporation with her broker and has developed other companies over the past 30 years. She's presently pioneering an international women's mission ministry in Haiti. Bravo. And the ministry assists in single Haitian women who have a high school education, allowing them to go to college or start a small cottage industry in the country of Haiti. She is also one of the primary founders of the Xi Omega chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority at UC Irvine, where she continues to support that chapter's efforts. She lives here in Los Angeles with her husband, children, several grandchildren, and wonderful friends, and she's committed to helping people and working tirelessly to support others in creating a more fulfilling life. So please welcome Crystel Coleman. Sorry, I was saying to my wife, one of my wife's best friends is named Crystel Coleman, and I said,
Right.
"Oh, she's gonna be on the show."
Wow.
No worries, no worries. Greg, thank you so much for a lovely introduction. Clearly, I do not have a master's in technology, and the rain has kept me from getting on sooner. So I apologize for this. My delay. I know Charlton he is a whiz at this. He's very knowledgeable about this and very articulate about this. He is not to mention passionate about this. So he has done an excellent job, I am sure, thus far. The part that I would like to add, and I do see a Crystal Mitchell. So, Miss Mitchell, I do see something that you wrote in the chat with regards to when is it a good time to start to consider something like this, maybe for a family member or for yourself. And I want everyone to know that it is really a delicate dance, just trying to figure out when is a good time to start this sort of a thing. I'm gonna share two things with you, and I don't want to occupy all the time because I want for Charlton to speak more to the nuts and bolts of H.E.L.P. So my mother, now gone, but when she first started to have difficulty, she actually had a small car accident, which led us to months of trying to figure out what we were going to do. She lived with us. Then she went back home, and my son took care of her. And it was extremely difficult because we decided to put her in assisted living in a wonderful, wonderful place in Long Beach, which was very far from where we live. Well, at least 25, 30 minutes away. So it was very difficult, but we were constantly out there seeing her and interacting with her. She was in her late 80s when this happened. Now my knowledge about
caregiving is much more astute. I would share with people to keep an eye on your loved ones. How are they interacting? What are they doing? How are their activities of daily living? Are they able to care for themselves? Are they able to articulate what their needs are? Or have they stopped paying their bills? So when you start seeing, or any other kinds of things like that, if you start seeing abnormalities, well, before that happens, you really want to be thinking ahead. I want to use myself as an example. I'm beyond my mid-60s. I do have a long-term care policy. It is not a policy I'm not using the H.E.L.P strategy, the funding strategy that we're talking about through H.E.L.P. I'm not using that. I want to let you know, everyone know, that as Charlton was saying, long-term care is expensive. That's why most people don't do it. Every year, and it's almost due again, that I have to pull this out of my budget, I feel those dollars coming out because they're coming out of our personal funding source. And I cannot drive home to you, this is our choice not to have my long-term care come out of a HELOC, excuse me, a HECM product or a reverse mortgage product. That's our choice. We could do it, and I can still do it one day if I so choose to do it. So I want you to know there's some transitional opportunities as well. So for me in this case, since I already have a long-term care policy, the important thing I think to understand from my perspective as somebody who is not using a reverse mortgage or a HECM product to do this is it is expensive. I would not be feeling this if this money were coming out of my equity. If I had reverse mortgaged the home and I was able to pull this money out of equity, every year my equity goes up. I live in Los Angeles. So it goes up every year, percentage-wise, 5% at least. And so my LTC is not going to cost 5% of my equity. In other words, I'm just not going to feel that, whereas I feel it coming out of my personal budget. So Crystal and others, I'm not sure if I've answered that question. I think I may have. If you have additional questions, please put them in the chat or say them. Thank you.
Greg, there's quite a few questions, and I think there are some on one of the things that I found when I was caring for my mom was, you had to have that external support, I tell you, because it's hard. I mean, you are all of a sudden your parent. My mom, I remember her telling me, she said, so who's the parent here? So like, now I am. And so I'm reinforcing these laws up here in this house. And so she wasn't happy about that. And most times she wasn't speaking to me, which is hard on you because you no longer have that support system. So my aunt was just absolutely amazing. She came out to relieve me. I actually had a whole network of friends and family. So I was pretty blessed, but I have had some friends that it was just on them. And you as a caregiver, you have to take care of yourselves because you can be guaranteed you're going to be the next one, which is what happened to my mom. So that's what I found out for me, just how hard it was to do this. This is probably harder than childbirth, if you ask me, guys.
Did I not say it's
hard.
Did I not say it's one of the hardest things you'll ever experience? And it is. And it's not a lack of caring or loving. It's just hard. Eric, I think you had another question.
Hey, I just wanted to echo Crystal Coleman's point. It's not cheap. I myself took out a long-term care policy, but I did it 5 years ago when I was 60. And I spend $2,300 a month. But the thing is, I have $1 million life insurance policy. It's a configuration of a life insurance policy with a long-term care rider on it. So if I need it, I got $20,000 a month if needed, which is a good thing because I'm looking out 30, hopefully 40 years from now if I ever need it. But if I pass away, have a heart attack, at least $1 million goes to my my trust. So it's not a use it or lose it type of proposition for me anyway.
And that's the chassis, if I might add, Eric, that's the chassis that the H.E.L.P strategy is based upon. It's really, you can do it with Universal Life and others, but what we're doing is we're prepaying the death benefit so that we can pretty much say whatever dollars you put into this strategy, if you never need it, you're going to get it back. And that's been the way that we can, you know, because one of the problems is people say, well, these premiums go up, but not with these. And you probably noticed that here. Your premium is contractually guaranteed not to increase. And so the premiums don't increase. And then, of course, there's a legacy benefit there for loved ones, because nobody's asked this question yet, or nobody's made this comment, but sometimes people say, well, you know, my kids, they want to make sure they inherit the property. And we know that's a very viable thing. But the thing about it is there's going to be, in often cases, the death benefit or the legacy benefit will pay for any of the money you took out of the equity in the home. So the children pretty much get everything anyway. So it's a very, very smart way to do it. Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of questions in the chat box, and one of them from Stephanie is, are you aware of legislation that has passed in Washington State making long-term care mandatory?
Yes. And
Yes.
they're working on that in California. The problem with all of those, though, are the benefits are so minuscule that they won't really matter when a person needs long-term care. What they're doing, they're trying to increase the monies that are available by making it mandatory, so they get all these premiums from all these younger people, which they need. And then, of course, they can pay for the older people. But even if you look at those plans, whether Washington State or the one that they're trying to develop here in California, the benefits are almost nominal. It's almost not worth the paper they're written on. I hate to say it that way, but that's the truth. Yeah.
If I can piggyback on that as well, my daughter lived in Washington State, and she was one of those 30-plus-year-old people who did have to buy this long-term care policy through the state. And Charlton's already explained that. She has since moved to California. She's not under that plan anymore. But yes, we are privy to that.
Okay, good. I wanted to also talk, just make sure that you guys cover any other resources besides this instrument that you're talking about, because Linda Morgan apparently is dealing with her family member, and she's looking for some men-focused resources. So if there's something there that you can add to the conversation,
When she says men focused, she's saying men like men, males focused?
Male focus. Yeah. Encouragement group. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, part of that has to do with the fact, and you guys have mentioned this, you know, when, you know, I have several of my guy friends who've had to take care of their moms.
Yes.
My mother is 94, she got her wings, and her whole thing was don't come in the bathroom with her. You know, you can't, you know, they were of that generation that you did not talk under their clothes. You did not look at their body as a human being, because she's the mom, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So if you can talk about some other resources that are out there, and I think that our audience certainly will make sure you guys put your information in the chat box, because I think there is some follow-up conversations that have to be had. And I think what tends to happen is we get on these kinds of shows and people want to get specific. And I think that we want to keep it global so that they can, you know, make contact with you to get to their specifics.
Well, we're here to help people in any way we can. I mean,
certainly,
the situation where you have, I don't know if the person is saying they're a daughter and they need caring for their dad. You know, there's obviously home health care agencies, sometimes family members that are of the same gender. But I can really resonate with what you were saying about this, because it's a universal thing. And I don't know about you. I don't want my children to see me without any clothes on either. I just don't, because our generation, our culture, you didn't see, now there's been a few exceptions, I'm sure, but you didn't see mom and dad. And with me, when my mom was living with us, thank God my wife was there. But for a young lady who needs help with her dad, I would say, you know, try a home health care agency. They can be expensive, but see if there's family members. I don't know of any particular where we can just say, okay, well, you know, these people will come and volunteer to do it, but there are people that you can get through an agency that would help you. And if we can help you look for some, let us know. We'll be more than happy to do it. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Definitely.
Hi, it's me, Linda. I was the one who was asking the questions, and it's not for my dad. I'm a caregiver for my husband.
Okay.
There are a lot of women who are caregiving for their husbands who do not have resources, or who don't really talk about the fact that they are caregivers for their husbands. And looking to see, we're fortunate because we're veterans.
Yes.
So if there's veteran resources that potentially you know about that we could tap into, that would be great information, or just information in general for women who take care of their husbands.
Yeah.
Well, that's the majority of the cases, Linda. And
Yeah.
that's why we encourage people to plan in advance so that when that time comes, they can have people coming in to help them. My wife can't, she can't lift me up. That's why I mentioned this earlier. That's very, very difficult. Are you caring for your husband obviously at home? And do you find problems with lifting him, or what's one of the major issues that you're
Oh
experiencing?
yes, he's 6'4",
Yeah.
and I'm 5'6".
Okay.
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
I'm glad someone said universal, because forget the funding and all that stuff. This is what's happening with people. All funding does is just make it easier. It doesn't take away from the burden. But let me ask you, if there was a way you could have someone come in and help your husband get it out of bed or go to different places, wouldn't that make it a lot easier on you?
Well, I do have those resources. I mean, he has nurses and all of that because we're veterans that come to the house. But outside, I'm the busy professional who wants him to engage in some men group encouragement. That's why I put in there men encouragement groups, or there groups that have been formed around this caregiving conversation that we have in our community, that we can say, I can say, honey, go over there to that men's group, of fellows that's dealing with the same things that you're dealing with in the community.
Have you looked into the adult daycare facilities that are around your community? Because they do have them. And they have, men and women that are, the spouse will drop them off during the day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. So they do have those available. Yeah.
And then that access bus service will actually pick them up. And then the other thing that I think you should think about is your church, your community-based organizations, especially the church, would be another alternative for you. I want to come back to, Greg had us a point, where there's a standalone long-term care policies, those that sit on the life insurance or annuity platform, which we've mentioned, and the home equity versus via a reverse mortgage arrangement, such as with H.E.L.P. Again, what we're sharing is there's a lot of options out there. The question becomes, who are you working with to help you ferret through that? And that's the reason why Crystel and Charlton are here today, because those are the kinds of things that they can help you with. And some other of our listeners and constituents are in the insurance industry as well, like Eric Bell, like Greg Sneed. These folks have the background in this space. And so again, we do community briefings so folks are familiar with the resources. And when you leave, and as Charlton said earlier, when you hang up, what are you going to do with the information?
And we encourage people especially to, talk to all their family members. There's a thing that we've kind of made a little funny term called kinophobia, which means people are afraid to talk to their kin folks about these kinds of things. But you got to do it. You got to start talking now. And you can't wait till mom is seeming like she's slipping. You can't wait until dad's memory. And if everybody has a plan, have a plan. That's the most important. Have a plan. Yes. And if you can, have a written plan that leverages an insurance company's money as opposed to you paying it out of your pocket. Absolutely.
And I believe there's another piece to this. So, and I have a friend that's going through this, 2 friends actually. The mom, because the daughter took care of the mom, the mom, when she was lucid and full of her own capacities, she made some changes in the trust, and she turned everything over to the daughter. And there had been a will in place and a trust in place when the father died. And so when that happened, mom went to her own attorney, to her everything, and she switched everything over to her daughter, because the daughter was the only one that wasn't married. Everyone else, her brothers could take care of themselves. She was concerned about her daughter because she knew her daughter had been in there taking care of her. Now, on the backside of this, the brothers are all upset because there was a change in the will, and now they're blaming her. And I think that it's hard to have this conversation with siblings, but you have to have these conversations. And when mom is having, whoever is making some changes, I actually think it needs to be recorded, because immediately upon her death, she can't speak for herself. So now you have done something wrong. So now you didn't gone through the trouble, the stresses of caring for your mother. Now the family unit has broken down because of that. So there's just so much more than just the money that is just difficult about this. And I think in the Black families, we don't necessarily make those kind of plans for the future. We just assume, I guess, we're going to live forever. But you really have to have that conversation. That same thing happened with my sibling. We don't speak to this day because of that. It just gets so blown out of proportion. So in addition to how you're going to pay for it, let's talk about all the logistics. And I think the parents have to say, hey, because parents know who's going to care for them and who not.
Yes.
And they've already chosen who they know is going to take care of them. And so designate what you're supposed to be doing. If you're going to do money, then do money, but don't get pissed off with the one that's putting in the 150% on caring for you. Yes. So I don't know if you guys have any input to that.
Yeah, I do. In fact,
he said, Charlton said, yeah.
my own family, when my parents were living, my baby sister ended up taking care of them. And they let the rest of us know she gets the house. And we said, absolutely. You know, it's like, it all goes back to xenophobia. Families need to sit down and say, okay, what's going to happen when mom or dad needs long-term care? What are we going to do? Who's going to do the caring? If you live back east and I live here, okay, and I'm going to have to do the caring, the situation that you were mentioning, it's fair, wasn't it, that the daughter become the person that's, you know, that has control over the trust. But it's all about talking about it in advance. Here's what happens most often. Eric's mom had the insight. Others had. You don't wait until it happens. You do it now. You do it. You're never going to be more healthy than you are today. Okay. And especially while people have their cognitive abilities, that's the best time to do it.
Yes. Good point.
You know, the other thing, one of the other questions that was here was talking about the fact that how early is too early to start. You know, I know when you join a new company and they go through all the insurance paperwork and you're young and the premiums are cheap, you know, I've glommed onto that. I've taken advantage of that. And to your point, Charlton, you know, then once you get in your 60s, then the premiums start looking like they start going crazy. But when you've had a policy for 10 years that you've been paying on, and now it went from $50-something to $180-something, you know, there's that financial decision that has to be made.
Yeah, I mean, and I know I'm not picking on PERS. When I'm just going to be straight up. When I was years ago, when the PERS policy first came out, we couldn't compete with them, with other carriers, with their premiums. And so if the person said, I'm a member of PERS, I'm going to get that plan, we'd say that's the best way to go. But it's what's going to be down the road. I have a good friend of mine whose dad is 90-something years of age. He dropped the policy because it went up so much. The H.E.L.P plans are contractually guaranteed not to go up at all. Now, I do need to make this clear. They're not available to people in their 40s and 50s. And we do need to say, if you're going to use the home equity conversion option, somebody has to be at least 62 years of age. But do we tell people to wait? No, if you can get one at 40, 50 years old, please do it, because the premiums are going to be exponentially lower. And with our plans, you're not going to see your premium go up in 5, 10 years to an astronomical amount that you can't afford. So we encourage people to do it. But, you know, let's face it, in our communities, a lot of times just our attitude is, well, I'm not going to give that insurance company my money. Well, look, they don't lose, you lose, we lose. And that's what I love about our legacy portion of the plan, because if you never need it, you or your family gets it all back. We kind of take the risk out of it. And that's what I love about it.
Review that piece again, because I don't think that people hear what you're saying.
Can I use Crystel as an example?
Yeah, please do.
I'm
looking at me. I'm sanctioning that.
Okay. So Crystel has a plan that gives her a death benefit of about $300,000. Pays up to, you know, $600,000. And if I don't get this right, Crystel, I just don't know.
Okay.
But what happens is, let's say 10 years down the road, she needs to use this plan. and she needs care that's going to cost $200,000, okay, over her lifetime. But she has a $300,000 legacy benefit. So $200,000 would be paid for the care. And then when she passes away, $100,000 would go over to her family. But her premium that she has now, that we won't say, but she and I can both quote it, that premium is locked in. That's her premium, and that she told you in her mid-60s. That's her premium in her 70s. That's her premium in her 80s. Can't go up. So did I answer that question sufficiently?
Well, I want to make sure that we're giving information that the audience can use. You know, I have a banking background. I've been dealing with insurance for a minute, so I just want to make sure that we're answering the questions and creating clarity so that people can make some holistic decisions. What you just said is that in order to get the HELP program, you have to be 62 years or older. Am I correct?
Not the long-term care portion. To exercise a home equity conversion, somebody, the husband or wife, has to be
on a reverse mortgage kind of situation.
But you can still get the long-term care portion without using, like in Crystel's case, so you can get that as early as in your 50s, 40s.
And again, you know, I think that to your point, folks don't get it that, you know, if the Lord bless you, you're gonna age, you're gonna get older. And the more planning you can do in your 40s, I think Greg made a comment about 55 being the sweet spot. But in this day and age, I think you start planning for the 55 sweet spot when you're 40 years old.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, the problem though, in reality, you're right. We agree. The reality is most people don't want to talk to you until they're in their mid 50s, early 60s.
But, you know, and to your point, and I think what we do is keep doing what we're doing. We socialize this information so that people are better prepared. Stephen had his hand up, and then we have another comment from Stephanie. That's okay. I'm the moderator. I'm supposed to watch out for that. Thank you. Stephen, get off of mute. You got to get off of mute.
I'm fine. You answered my question.
Oh, good. Okay. Linda Morgan has another question. How do you prepare for our 20 and 30-year-olds for this kind of conversation? You know, and I don't think there's any preparation. I think it's a part of truly having the conversation, right? And you can't just have one conversation. You know, that's why we do the community briefing, and sometimes we have folks come back and give us updates and come back with new information or new tactics based on the information that they provided. But long-term care, just like with any other kind of insurance care or any kind of care that you need, has to be planned for. And I think that that's the main point that's being brought here. And folks are using their personal experiences to help bring the message forward.
Absolutely.
In fact, candidly, people that are more open to this have seen a family member or a friend be a caregiver. And that's when it can, that's when the doors get open to talk about it. But I can tell you when that's going to happen to you. So we're saying the same thing over and over again, but we can't stress it enough. The sooner, the better.
Yeah.
I think there's also another component to this is that, a lot of people, when you say reverse mortgage, they're thinking they're going to lose the family home. But here's the thing. If you do this when mom is 62, or plan for this in 62, then choose someone in the family that can refi so that they can keep the family home. Our parents are not dying until they're 80s. Get them if they're 62 and you're going to do this, then you got enough time. You got at least 10, 15 years to help someone get their credit together. So, and then the family come together and say, hey, here's the money you need in order to refi so we can keep the family home. It's not, they're going to, because this is what I hear. They're going to take my mama's house. Well, they're not if you plan. But you do choose someone, even if it's your nephew or whoever got a good, the basis for good credit and prepare them and position them so that they then can take the house. Stephen, your hand.
Great. Yes, I just want to thank you both for being our guests today. And, and then what we'd like to do is we have a think tank. Feel free to use community briefing as a launching pad as you work in the community as a community briefing, and that we are advocates for you. But one thing we ask of you if you had to choose one person to come back on this show, please share that with us because we want to continue the dialogue during Black History Month.
Oh, beautiful.
You mean between us, between the two of us?
Yes.
Yeah. I would probably be the one, since I've been eating and breathing and sleeping this.
Well, and the other thing that we ask too, though, is the clients that you service, invite them to the community briefing, because it's not just, the subject matter that you're covering. We have a lot of subject matters that we cover, and we're always looking for speakers. And so again, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the H.E.L.P program, and especially in a critical time when we're talking about family care. Next week, we have another young lady, Violetta, who I met through the Ross program at the Minority Program of Real Estate Development at USC. She has a dearth of experience talking about community organizing. She formerly worked for a union. And again, this is the kind of information that we need, especially as we get ready to start voting in early March. The other piece that I will share with you with her, she's also she's worked on multiple campaigns. She's on her last campaign. There's an African-American female running for office in San Bernardino, the only African-American running for an office in San Bernardino. And she's putting all of her effort and her interest and her experience behind this individual to help her to get elected. So again, as we continue to talk about how do we use our voice, how do we use our platform, and how important our voice, our vote is, we continue to look for those kinds of resources to bring to the community briefing. And I'm gonna bring, we've included the H.E.L.P website in the chat box, and I'm gonna turn it back over to Crystal or Greg so we can close out.
All right, thank you guys. There's a couple of events that's coming up. The Crenshaw Chamber is having their Black History event on Rosa Parks, which is going to be this Saturday. If you go to the community briefing and go to Recycling Black Dollars, the flyers will be there. As well, there is an event coming up in March from the National Association of African American Parents and Youth, the Black Family Summit. Yolanda is on. It's called The New Face of Black Education. It's going to be at the California Endowment Center, March 5th at 8 a.m. And they have some amazing keynote speakers. I am one of the panelists speaking on family financial literacy. So you will also find that on the RBD Facebook page. So go there. And we have our breakfast mixer. We're all going to meet up on February 21st. At Doolin's. The flyer will be up. Sarah just mentioned it. So there's a new flyer coming up. The old flyer will be up on RBD's Facebook page. Is at the BBA's Facebook page. Is at the Crenshaw Chamber Facebook page. So you cannot miss it, guys. And there are so many other Black History Month events. Please go support and support us, uplift us. We got 29 days this month because it is a leap year. And before I close out, Greg, the only great thing about being born on February 29th, you don't age, but every 4 years. So that actually was a benefit for that human being. It'll take them longer to get old. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We're here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Go tell a friend. We shouldn't have 17 people here. We should have hundreds of people because we are bringing the individuals that are in our communities, working behind the scenes, working hard for us as people. And here's where we give them their flowers and we introduce you to them so you can expand your network. So reach out to helping with TC funding. And I think there's an opportunity for us, because so many of us are baby boomers, to create that help list of respite care and support for us that are taking care of our elderly. I think that's an opportunity waiting for somebody to put their name on it, because I think every one of us are going to be in that position if we have not been there already. So
I'm going to change the lyrics up a little bit, and instead of the normal words, to be mature, gifted, and Black.
Okay.
By the way,
It's the
thank you guys so much.
creativity.
Thank you guys so much for the opportunity of being able to share
Yes.
this with you this
And
afternoon.
don't let this be your
Thank you.
last time, okay?
Yeah, come back. Go tell everybody this show will be on YouTube. So please go. You'll be able to find it over there in a couple of days. Along with thank you, Yolanda. I was trying to get it over there. Thank you so much. And this lady right here, we got to have her come in because she's doing some dynamic things for our Black youth in the math, the sciences, the STEMs.
Mm-hmm.
She is just doing her thing. And there's so many of us like Charlton and Crystel. All the issues that pertain to us as Black people are being addressed by all of us. Wendy is doing her thing for young people. Linda's doing her thing for retired jazz musicians.
Yes, we're doing a tribute to Barbara Morrison on the 15th at the center.
There you go. So we're all doing something. Sarah's doing, I mean, they up the BBA uplifts women all the time. Joseph is doing his thing. So we are some dynamic people. Don't let nobody tell you we're not. And this is how we celebrate us, and this is how we inform. So tell everyone about the community briefing and come tune in here every Thursday at 11 a.m. and then support us on our YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button and that like button. We want to monetize that channel, so we need you people to do that. All righty. Greg, you want anything? You good? So next week, come back. We have Violetta. Okay. Remember, vote. We gotta vote, guys. If the man got to crawl in on his knees, I'm talking about Biden, we need him on his knees. We don't need that other man. And if you don't want to do that, then I suggest you get your passport, because you may have to leave for about 4 years and come back later on.
I already got mine, Crystal.
But see, the thing is that what we're really talking about, democracy is on the ballot this year. It's not just Biden. This democracy is on the ballot. So if we don't show up in the polls, Black people in particular can push this thing through. Black people and women. So if we don't show up in the polls, you can leave the country if you want to. You won't be coming back to America. Not the America not the one that we complain about.
It won't be here because he will eliminate it. Joseph, before we close out.
Look, all the other races. We're choosing a senator in California. A lot of cities are going to be voting for mayors, council people, county supervisors. My state senator is termed out, so we're going to get a new state senator in my area. All of those things matter. Everybody gets real excited because the media focuses on Biden and Trump. But the people who influence your lives most directly are the people that are closest to you. When you have a problem on your street, you're not calling Biden, or you shouldn't be, nor should you be blaming him. You should be calling the people at City Hall. And if you don't know who they are, then you're caught out of luck.
Right, because I think Holly
Mitchell don't ignore all of the races. And those
Holly
judges.
Mitchell is up. The judges, the supervisors, the school districts, all of those
district
things.
attorney,
the district attorney, all those people are important.
Yeah.
Holly Mitchell seated, she's reelected, she's being campaigning for reelection. Holly Hunt, if she's reelecting, and a number of individuals coming from the District 8. So there are some very important things, and we know we have to make sure we have people in our council men that are doing the right thing, because we've already been through a whole lot of stuff. So just know that this is really important. We will not be stopping for the rest of this year. That's all we're gonna harp on until March 8th. To November 8th, right? So just get used to it, guys. And the information for Charlton and Crystel will be in the, if you go over to YouTube, it's going to be in the description. So that's how you'll get it. But we're going to ask you to hit the subscribe and like button, and you can get that information to reach out to them. So very important. Emma is our other resident voting person here, but we've gone over. We want to thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. See you next Thursday at 11 a.m. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.